ENT GLIS is Entrepreneurship Geography and Library Information Studies. And Diane wanted this to be a graduate level class, although since it's 500, undergraduates can take it as well, since we wanted more graduate level classes. And just use that image of Charleston, South Carolina as my lead-in image when we have posters promoting the class, which is an example of what students would do. And next slide, please, Joe. And I won't read this to you, I promise, but a rough idea of what this class covers. I'm sorry, Joe, next slide, please.
Sure.
3 credits, and again, I mentioned both undergraduates and graduates, and largely it's a research class. So what can the students come in, learn about how to make the best decisions about their potential entrepreneurship experience or entrepreneurship pursuits in terms of limiting risk, and that's the main point of this class, as you can see with the course Cal description. And the other key part about this is that there's no business experience required, which I've learned sometimes is challenging, because I get some students who have very much experience, including one entrepreneurship major who I've had before, and actually is using one Ezra's classes as well, and who is very experienced, and I have other kids in there who don't know anything about business at all. One student asked me after class, Steve, what's a nonprofit? How is a nonprofit different from business? And I was like, oh, wow, I never thought I had to explain that. And so I'm learning to expect that I need to be very careful and not use jargon, given that we have some very new to business, new entrepreneurship students in the class. Next slide, please, Joe. And just a little bit more about what we're doing in this class. You can see, I won't read this to you, but you can see examples of the kind of the point of view about what kind of students I like to take the class and how I help them come out of this. And I mentioned, as you can see, that I think this is a competitive advantage. So they're learning how to reduce risk when they pursue ideas. They will know whether an idea is feasible or not. They know how much competition exists, the market size, the industry trends, and also as a broader level of encouragement to take the class, I mentioned, as you can see, that this makes students more competitive against their peers who may only know how to do Google search, who may not know how to get data, for example, to research a market or an industry or a financial analysis. And so I think that's hopefully one selling point that resonates with students as well. Next slide, Joe. And just to outline, I won't read this to you, but typical topics that go into a feasibility analysis or a business plan in terms of research needs. As you can see, it goes from industry and marketing down to financials, and a little bit of economic analysis, too, in the latter weeks of the semester. And 2 things I want to emphasize about how we pursue the learning in the class, which ties into some of the other examples we've heard from people today. One is use of case studies. So since I work with a lot of entrepreneurs in the community who need research help as well as students researching ideas, I record some of those comments or some of those business ideas and bring them to class and say, here's an idea. I was talking with a student 2 weeks ago. Won't give you the name because it's private, but here's the idea. How do we research this? What are the research issues? What kind of data can we find to support or to provide evidence of the value or the success factors that they will go into? So we do a lot of case studies, that's hands-on, real role-playing. And part 2, or the other part, is the capstone classes. And some of you mentioned capstones already. So students are encouraged to pick an entrepreneurship idea they want to pursue for real, or maybe want to pursue if they think it's going to work out. And they have the half-second semester to pursue that, to research it, to do industry analysis, market analysis, and so on, and really develop the research that would go into a business plan without doing the business plan itself. And so hopefully that will encourage them to pursue an actual idea, since they already will have plenty of research supporting their research needs after the end of this class. And that's largely...
See, one of the things that you and I have talked about is helping students frame the right questions, so when they do research or analysis of data, they get the right answers.
That's right.
How do you manage that with your class?
That's a good question. And one of the underlying aspects of that, Joe, and everyone, is that some questions can't really be answered, in my opinion. If you had a student who's researching a store to sell rugby cleats, can you all picture rugby cleats? Rugby is that Australian?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's in the United States, a not very well-known sport, and cleats being just one example of the equipment they need. So what's the market size for cleats? So that was the question, Joe, is what can I determine how many people or how much money is spent on rugby cleats in North Carolina or in Greensboro each year? And the answer, well, the answer's not there. So we have to do a proxy analysis, like maybe football, which you can measure because that's a bigger sport, so there's more data about football, American football. How can you answer those questions given that the data may not exist? So it is a challenging issue, Joe, and sometimes there's answers, sometimes there's not, and how to negotiate that and identify when you can find an exact answer or comparable data or benchmark or proxy information versus when you have to just make guesses, frankly. That's one of the core issues that really gets into more of the advanced information literacy or data literacy discussions that we have in this class. So that's a very good question, and there's not necessarily an easy answer to that question.
Thank you, Steve. We'll probably come back to this question later, hopefully. Then we have Coleman Director Tim Stern from CSU Fresno who wanted to provide an update. And Tim, this is your slides.
That's my slide?
Yeah, you got it.
Oh, okay.
You have the floor.
Well, let's go to the next slide.
Want to go to the next slide? Okay.
These are not the slides.
That's one that you sent me, I think.
That's the slide I wanted. The other
okay.
slide, and I guess when I put that together, I failed to strip out the other part of it.
That's
one of the things that we do on a monthly basis is we gather together as Coleman Fellows, and we like to be able to do some socializing and networks, as well as talk about some of the things going on. We have about 20 fellows, so we're a rather large group. We are starting to do something a little bit different. In the past, we've been meeting in the alumni house, and this time we decided instead of doing that, we're going to be doing site visits. And the site visits would be at the place of the faculty, and to kind of go into their cave and learn a little bit about what they do. This event was from last Tuesday night, and Klaus Tenbergen was our host. Klaus is the head of the culinology department, and you can see the cave right here that he operates in is a kitchen. And to your left is his student chefs. In fact, one of the students in that picture, as I discovered, is in my Introduction to Entrepreneurship class. I have 130 students, so I tend not to recognize all of them. But it is not the first culinary student to doing entrepreneurship. In fact, I get quite a few, and we've actually are just about ready to finalize a food entrepreneurship certificate that we're introducing. But you'll see not only did Klaus have the students prepare us a fabulous meal, a full, complete meal, and also Elisa Valdez, who's also pictured there, is one of the Coleman Fellows, and she teaches floral design for entrepreneurs, how to start a business around floral. And in that photo, you can see that she demonstrated for us how to create a bouquet using basically plants out of your garden or something around you, so you wouldn't have to go out and spend too much money, and a way to provide some decor. The other thing that we did at this event is we invited many other potential Coleman Fellows, people who might be interested in the program, to attend as well, and that gives us an opportunity to get to know them and for them to also learn about the program. And assuming we go forward next year with more recruitment of Coleman Fellows, these are good prospects for us. So next month, we're even more excited because we're going, Dave and Florence are hosting us, and they promised that we're going to get our boots on. We're going to walk through the fields, as they're in agriculture and irrigation science. And so we're going to have an opportunity to do a little bit different. Dave teaches organic farming for entrepreneurs, and Florence does a course on irrigation management for entrepreneurs. So this will be a little bit different than sitting in the kitchen, but we're all excited about doing that. And by the way, today we've got a lot of rain. We're having more coming, so if you know anything about what's happening in California, this is good news. We're just hoping that next month it doesn't rain.
Well, so when you talk about going to different site visits, as you call them, from a logistics standpoint, does it create more issues? Because it's easy to get everybody in one space where they always meet, how does that work out, or what are some of the experiences that you can share with us?
Trying to get 20 faculty member into one space is never easy. That's always a challenge. I mean, everyone has schedules. Even for our WebEx this morning, we've got many faculty. This is the time for their departmental meetings. They've got other commitments. We got people teaching. So faculty don't have nice, neat schedules that you can identify times for. What we do is rotate the times. Sometimes we meet at lunch on Wednesdays. Other times it'll be Thursdays. This time was on Tuesday at 4:30. So we try to capture people kind of towards the end of the day, and a chance particularly to come in and have some food, drink some wine, share some of our successes and failures and everything else in between.
Well, thanks, Tim. I appreciate you sharing this with us.
And I apologize.
Are there any questions?
Other slides.
Go ahead. Pardon me? I have about 15 slides, and we won't go to all of them.
I'm ready to go right now. If we want to do the whole lecture, I can go right on.
No.
This is all about ecosystem.
Okay. So at this point, are there any questions for any of the presenters? And I know there are a lot of faculty connected to this group, and they're watching, listening, observing. So please feel free to ask questions. There are no takers. I have a question for Mark. Mark from ISU. Can you talk about your team with the solar, the solar car project with Dan Hall?
Yeah, one of the things we're doing right now is to put together student-run businesses. Now, we have one, and that's called Stu Records. The solar car team has come to me and asked to do the very same thing. Basically, they function as a business, and they make a profit, but they never harvest the profit. They take that profit and they do something university related with it. So the solar car team wants to build something that physicists can build, something that's within their skill set and talent, such as solar-powered phone chargers. And then they're going to brand the dickens out of it, and then they're going to sell it for a profit. And then they take that money, and at certain periods, they will then push that money into the solar car and become even more productive and even more competitive. We have another one called Stu Records. They're functioning as an independent record label, and their goal is to get $25,000, which might take them 5 or 6 or 7 years, and then have the university provide them some space in the College of Fine Arts, perhaps, and build their own recording studio. The difference between a student-run team and a student-owned team is the student-run team provides, it's in the form of an RSO, and we had to go through legal, and we had to go through our grants accounting folks, and we had to find a way to charge tax, and we had to do a lot of things because they do it in the name of ISU, but they remain perpetually with the university as a registered student organization. Now, and I think this is called being fully transparent, we haven't made a penny yet. We went through one iteration with our independent record label. They lost, out of 1,000, they lost $72. They were all depressed, and I said, that's pretty good for the first rendition. So they were tickled when they found out I was pleased with them, but that's what we're trying to do, and we've got one in place called Stu Records, and anyone can join that team. We have one College of Business student who is an accounting major, and she helps them with their books, and then the rest of them happen to be from the College of Fine Arts, and they all have positions, and they have weekly meetings, and they function as a board of directors. So that's been very successful for us, and we hope to grow that program, and that's all into the Means Center, actually.
Thanks, Mark. We have a question from Clark or Mike from the foundation.
Joe, this is Mike. Tim, this is the first time you've tried this site visit thing. Did anything notable come out of that? Did you see different in meeting like that as opposed to just kind of the traditional way? Are there impacts to the fellows and that you'll be looking for out of this particular way to meet?
Yes, to the answer, this is the first time we've done that, and we're going to continue on this. I think Part of it is that we all teach in our little silos, so to speak. We have our own little centers, we have our own little spaces, and other than maybe seeing someone in the classroom, we really don't have a chance to experience what exactly is going on. In this case, we had 4 students who, 2 of them in their introduction said they wanted to start their own business, one a bakery, one a restaurant, and one of them actually wanted to go to the Food Network and be a star. So, you know, those are the types of things that gives us a chance, everyone in the Fellows Program, to learn more and to get a real sense and feel of what their life is on campus that sometimes doesn't give us much access or knowledge of when we just simply go to the alumni house, let's say, and meet and talk. And before, I think what we were doing is bringing speakers in with content, people out of the community who engage in entrepreneurs and work with them, and very useful for building networks, and that can lead to resources for the faculty to tap into. So this isn't by any means what we're going to permanently do, but I think we do want to go and do this over and over. For instance, the engineering department has a $30,000 3D printer. We'd love to go over there and play with that. But, you know, things like that where we can actually see what goes on in their labs and the types of work that's being done and so forth. So that's the effort right now is what we're trying to accomplish.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Tim. At this point, I wanted to go back to the agenda. Clark has a few announcements, and I have a couple of announcements. So, Clark, if you can go first.
Sure, great. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, everyone. That was a fascinating series of presentations, and it really, I think, represents the diversity that exists within the Fellows Program, from, you know, things that might at first blush seem like they're somewhat distant from kind of our core entrepreneurship concepts. I mean, some of the things that, you know, we heard this morning, like, you know, Matt's class in anthropology, that is trying to kind of, you know, inspire some people to think about self-employment in different places. You know, ranging to, you know, Steve's course, very practical skills around, you know, research. So I think that represents the diversity. And then, you know, Tim and Fresno being able to find ways to share that diversity among the local community. So I think that's really cool, and we're excited about a lot of things that have been showcased here. Tim, in his presentation, he kind of, you know, hinted if we're going to continue on with the Fellows Program, then ... What I'd like to announce today, what we'd like to announce today is that we'd like to remove doubt from that statement. The Foundation has agreed to move forward into the 2014-2015 year with the Fellows Program. We're excited to continue it. We're looking to advance a program that's probably similar in size. So if you kind of look around the web room at the number of campuses involved here today, that's roughly what we're looking to continue moving forward. However, there will be a couple of changes to the program, and none of these are radical, but things you should be aware of as you consider participating in the future. Number one, as you know, we have convened fellows historically in person at the CEO conference in October. And following that conference last year, as you know from our survey, we floated the idea of accelerating that and convening people earlier in the year, and that is in fact what we are going to do. So the Fellows Summit for the 2014-2015 academic year will be taking place in the August time frame. We think it's very important to convene everyone earlier so we can take more advantage of the fall in building relationships and getting the program kicked off a little bit earlier. So that will be kind of one substantive change that you'll see. Another is we're going to be looking very seriously at the support that institutions are providing for the program. So historically, we've had a number of schools that have really stepped up and funded fellows of their own. So either there would be a match to the funding the foundation would provide, or just other resources even beyond that some schools are providing. And we're going to highlight that and really be looking more seriously for that type of support as schools apply. So whereas in the past, you know, we've been very comfortable making a grant for 2 to 3 fellows and perhaps having those being the only fellows in that year's class from a particular school, this year we're going to be looking for other schools to be matching that or to significantly contribute to programmatic support for the fellows program. So the greater degree of support, that's coming in hard dollars from an institution, the more likely that institution would remain part or enter the program. So these expectations will all be made available to project directors later today. We will be releasing 2 RFPs, and that's another thing that's a little bit different. The first RFP will be the regular RFP for the program for participation and gaining funding for fellows, as well as for project director support. Secondly, we will have a separate RFP for e-baristas. So similar to last year, we're going to be looking for veteran faculty members, veteran fellows who would like to be e-baristas. We're going to be looking for a separate response to a request for participation there that provides more early upfront description of the proposed topic that e-barista would coalesce colleagues around. So rather than waiting until the CEO conference or the Fellows Summit to really get those topics framed up and launched at that point, we'd like to get your ideas earlier, and we'd like to make sure that we have very compelling COE topics, particularly compelling topics, that we can organize fellows around at the Fellows Summit in August. So there'll be 2 RFPs. We will send both of those to project directors, and we'll ask that project directors share and kind of facilitate the process of e-barista application. So if you're a project director, we're going to send you both these RFPs. If you're an interested faculty member in becoming an e-barista, contact your project director, get access to that RFP, and then we will look for the project directors to be submitting the RFP from their institution to participate in the Fellows Program, and then any additional responses from prospective e-baristas. We're accelerating the process here, so we're releasing this RFP today. We're going to look for responses by the end of March, so about 4 weeks to prepare and submit all of those responses to the RFPs, because we want to get the names of fellows so that we can have a very effective August Fellows Summit. We've got limited time today to discuss questions, so if you have any questions about that, feel free to contact me directly. My phone number is 312-902-7120, and if you want to send me an email, that's fine too. But if you have any questions, upon receipt of the RFP, please contact me with any questions. We're excited to continue the program. We're particularly interested in continuing to improve it and refine it, and we think we're going to be recommending some changes that are going to make it a better experience for you and for your students and for all involved. So that's the big news. The second thing I want to leave as a reminder is that we did push out a very brief survey to get your feedback on the Drucker Institute material that was used at this past Fellows Summit. We're assessing whether that is something we want to continue to use as part of the program. And so Joe did send out the SurveyMonkey link to project directors and others. We've had a handful of responses, but we're really looking for a broad perspective on whether the Drucker material has been useful to you, whether you've used it in class. We've heard some examples this morning, but we want to get a pretty comprehensive assessment of that as we're making decisions as to what to use going forward. So if you haven't had a chance to respond to that, please do. If you need the link, perhaps we can send that out again, Joe.
Sure, I will. And one of the questions that popped up, Clark, is will the funding for the co-directors continue?
Yes, there still will be that pool of funds available for program support. So the funding structure is not changing. The amount, the size of the grants, the types of funding, is going to be identical to last year. We're really just moving up the process faster and then kind of separating the e-barista application from the fellows application so that we can get more information on prospective cups of espresso.
Great. Thanks, Clark.
Any questions, feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll also send an email to the directors if you need Clark's information, he's probably going to send it to you with his email also. I just had a couple of quick items to share with you. The Fellows website has 500,000+ visits, and we are happy about that. The most visited items are the syllabi, and the syllabus exchange is one of the most prominently visited area of the website. And I do get a lot of inquiries through the Fellows site, and the most inquiry that relates to the visit is how do I become a former fellow, and I usually refer them to class sometimes, or schools if they are local. And so I would urge you to continue to post your syllabi and related articles to the site. For the next time we as a large community meet online is on April 18th, and I'll be sending out emails and requests for fellows who would like to showcase what they have done so far in the academic year. And the next coffee hour, though, is on March 28th, and that is only for the e-business and the directors. So that is sort of our content side of it. So if there are any questions or comments, we do have a couple minutes left. Feel free to speak up. Okay, no questions. All right, and also I had another comment. Oh wait, I have a chat question. There was a comment about the survey link, and if it is not working for any of you, please let me know. What we are hoping is the survey link was sent out to the directors, and we are sort of relying on the directors to push this out to the fellows on their campuses and have them complete the survey on it's really 2 questions with an open sort of comments box. We'd like to get some real meaningful feedback from the community as to how they're using the Drucker content and how well it's working for them or not. And so we are looking for that input. So if there are any other questions, please speak up. Okay, I guess there are no questions at this point. So it's we are at the 11 o'clock hour. So thank you everyone for attending this webinar, the coffee hour. If there are questions that you'd like to shoot to me individually, please feel free to do that. There's another question here. So I am looking forward to more posts and visits to the site, and the e-baristas and the COE are also posting their content. Looking forward to reading all of these, and I will see all of you as a community on April 18th, but we will see all the directors and the e-baristas on the 28th of March. So thank you very much for coming.